This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Now, how happy are you? I suppose a lot of people might say, oh, I'm pretty happy. Well, are you really? And could you be happier? Those are the things that were being discussed on the island last week with the visit of Brian Colbert, who is a happiness expert. He's written a book called The Happiness Habit. Now, Brian, before we start, we should say, I think, this is all to do with what's known as neuro-linguistic programming.
Sure.
So can we start by explaining what that is?
Yeah. Basically, neuro-linguistic programming is neuro is how your brain functions, how it operates. Okay. Linguistic is how language affects your brain, and also non-verbal language as well. And programming is your ability to program your thoughts, your mind, as well as other people's as well.
And how do you go about doing that? Because people aren't aware very often of how they can actually change the way they view things.
Yeah, and not only change the way they view it, but change how they think about it, change how they see it, how they hear it, how they feel it. So, and that is exactly what NLP is about. Looking at your internal architecture. How does your brain function? How does it work? Just think about the inside of your mind. So it really is thinking about thinking. So how do you set up your thoughts for the day? How do you generate good feelings? So what has to happen inside your head to generate a good feeling? And that very often can be a simple thing of shifting a picture or changing a contrast, a little bit like looking at a TV set. If you had dials on it, you can adjust certain things, but those certain things can change how you feel as well. But particularly, the most important thing that we've recognized and found out, that's language is the key thing. How we talk to ourselves is far more important than we give it credit for. And even the research, very often they talk about research, oh well, you know, language is not that important. Well, the research that was based on was actually bogus. It wasn't a solid research. But ultimately, we would say language is 100% important. How you talk to yourself. Remember, what you're doing every single day is talking to yourself. You know, you're setting up your day, that's how you talk to yourself. Some people have their mother's cross voice inside their head, talking to themselves. A lot of people, when they're reviewing what they've done, they have a bully voice talking to themselves, saying, oh, you've done it again, I can't believe, how foolish was that? So our internal architecture is really what's important, that's what we work on. How to run the feelings, how to talk to ourselves in the right way, and how to generate the right pictures and the right senses to be able to match it all together so you're feeling better. And then to create habits out of that.
Right, now you've been in Cyprus talking to people
Sure.
about how they can improve their, happiness ratio? What
Yeah.
do you call it? How do you do it?
Yeah, so I would say that happiness, the practice of happiness or the happiness habits. You know, you opened with a really good statement that, you know, how happy are you? And a lot of people say, well, I'm fairly happy. The research shows us that the older we are, naturally the happier we become in general. So that's the research. But for all of that, you know, basically the brain is full of distortions. So we can all be happier, that's for sure. But the reality is, when we say we're happy, very often we're referring to the general order of things. Yeah, well, I've got a job, things are working out okay, and, you know, basically the kids are okay, my relationship's okay, then we say, then I'm happy. And that's great, it's brilliant to have that. But the reality is, we start from the question, a much bigger question is, how much pleasure can you stand? So a lot of people say they want to be happy, okay? And the reality is, their pitch is just to be mediocre. It's to be okay, it's to get through, it's to get by. And that, I'm happy, you know, I have enough. And the reality is we're much more than that. We're much more capable of that, and we can do much more with it. We can actually have a really good day full-time. That's possible to do. Not every day, but it is possible to feel good. I started from the principle of, basically, if you think about Sigmund Freud, he started from the principle of that we have a free-floating anxiety. And I said, hold on, what would happen if we could have a free-floating feel-good feeling, which we can do, because all it is emotions, learning how to run that emotion. So the pitch that most people have is too low. That's what I would say. You can have a much better life. You can be much happier, okay? It's not to discount what you have, but ask yourself the question, could it be better? Could you have more? Basically, and the thing is, you can, if you know how to use your brain. The biggest enemy we've got is not the world outside, it's the world inside. And if you get the brain right, then pretty much we can deal with all the rubbish on the outside, for want of a better words, all the problems, the challenges, the difficulties. You know, a lot of people say, you know, what will be different if I do this? The only thing that will be different will be your approach. That's the difference. But that is the difference that makes the difference. It's how we approach things. We know some people can have a really tough life and say, I'm happy. Some people can have a really good life and say, I'm unhappy. That's about internal mechanisms. That's about how you're building your brain. That's about your internal landscape. What are you doing inside your head to be able to respond to these things? And that's not just someone telling you, oh, just be happy, just be positive, just relax. It's not as simple as that. You have to build a mindset that allows you to be able to do that. And NLP is the how-to. It's not the what to do, it's the how to do it, which is much different. Loads of people will spend lots of time telling you what to do in order to be happy, what to do in order to be successful, what to do in blah, 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 blah. Basically, and really what you're buying off is the person, their energy, the way they are. And that works in lots of ways, but not really fully. Because if that did work all of the time, more people would be more successful, more people would be more happy. There's a how-to, there's a skill behind this that you have to learn, that you have to acquire, and that skill is insight.
But also I would suggest to you that if you manage to achieve some sort of feel-good factor or happiness, then it radiates back at you. I mean, you only have to smile at somebody and they smile back and you feel good. So it's very much just your approach to things, isn't
Absolutely, and that's precisely it. And we know this now, not only when we smile, it kind of multiplies by division. Basically that, when we send it out, then people respond. It's like children. Children tend to smile, be happy, and basically we respond in that way back to children. Human beings are the same way. The fact of the matter is, absolutely, once you get it in that way right, then it does come back to you. Okay, but the reality is most people don't know how to do it. We weren't given an instruction manual how to run a brain. We don't know, basically, we don't know how to turn up the dials. We don't know, and very often we don't have those expectations. Remember, we live in a culture where expectations are imprinted onto us. So we're told what to expect, what to do, how to be. They're all the levels that we're told. So very often we're in the fishbowl. We don't see that there's a bigger possibility. There's more that you can do. There's people that are going around happy most of the time. So why couldn't you model that? Because NLP is based on modeling, by the way, studying success. How do people do things really successfully? And it's not about smiling all of the time. That would be pathetic, let's be honest. But the reality is, it is about feeling good, the backdrop feeling of just feeling good most of the time.
So how do you go about feeling good most of the time? I mean, all right, I know you want to sell your book, but you can't tell us everything in 5 minutes. But give us an indication of where people should start.
Yeah, and I'll tell you where to start really simply. And this is, again, research-based, so it's proven. There's a really cool thing, basically, first thing in the morning, last thing at night. There are two key areas to work on, okay? Because in those states, we're in a semi-hypnotic state, which means we're open to suggestion, which means we can actually hypnotize ourselves, which means we can change our behaviors. That's number one, just to be aware of. Now, what to do when you wake up in the morning? One of the first things to do, and we hear about this, but a lot of people don't really take it to heart. You say, to develop that attitude of gratitude. What are you grateful for? Now, there's a technical process in this. When you ask your brain certain questions, it'll go look for certain responses. So if you say, what am I grateful for? First thing in the morning, before you even get up, you're just in the bed, you're just waking up. What am I grateful for? What's working well in my life? What's actually going well in my life? And now you're already setting up the Google search engine in your head to start sorting for that. So you say, well, I'm happy with my family. I'm happy that I'm alive. I'm happy that I'm comfortable in my bed. I'm happy. And just start to notice what's good, what's working. Even if you can't say what I'm happy for, say what's working well. That's a good place to start. And as you do that, then the brain starts to sort for it. Now we know, basically, once you do that, we live longer. That's number one. We know that. Basically, we get more clarity and we feel good. So for those basic reasons, it's good enough reason to do it. But the other scientific reason to do it is it makes us feel good. If we feel good, we're smarter. If we're smarter, we can deal with life better. We know that as well. So basically, it should be a priority for everybody, in my opinion, to first focus on your feelings first. Get the feelings right, then the rest of the day will work better. Okay? But simply from the process of, if you get your feelings right, your brain is smarter. So we need to be smarter. It's a challenging word. We need to be smarter. So that's day one, the morning one, okay? That's a good way just to open up. And even only that exercise, if you only done that, it'll start to make you feel better, yeah? So now the next thing is, though, at night time, is to begin to reflect back on the day and ask yourself questions again. Now the language of this is important, basically. What did I do well today? Not what went wrong today. What did I do well? How did I improve? How much better am I getting? Now the thing is, you'll be very quick to say what you've done wrong, what you didn't do right, blah, blah, blah. We know all of that. That's the bad feeling stuff, yeah. What you're training your brain is to run good feelings. And literally it's a skill. Train your brain to run good feelings. So what did I do well? What could I do better next time? Basically, how much have I improved? Now that's setting up your nighttime to begin to get good as well. So basically, at that point, what you're doing is you're programming your brain. You're still in a semi-hypnotic state, just like in the morning time. Basically, and then you start to visualize and imagine or think about, basically, how would you like tomorrow to go? What would happen if you had great fun tomorrow? What would happen if that project you're working on was a complete success tomorrow? What would happen if that report came in time? What would happen if tomorrow was just a feel-good day? And you run that through your mind, just with questions, feeling good, running these questions, starting to visualize things without effort. Just questions, just use the questions. They'll generate the state, they'll trigger the pictures. Consciously or unconsciously makes no difference. But now you set yourself up on the lowest level that had a restful sleep. That's the lowest level, because you'll be feeling good, yeah? Basically, you'll be feeling hopeful, aspirational, positive. Basically, but the real thing is what you're doing is you're programming your brain to go look for it. The brain loves problems. It's a problem-solving instrument. If you give it problems to solve, it'll do it. If you set up the questions right, it'll solve the really good problems, which is, how can I make myself feel better? How can I make myself feel more energy? How can I make myself whatever it is you want to, yeah? But you're the architect, remember that? Then in the morning you're waking up and you'll be brighter and lighter because of it. Remember, you don't settle at that, because when you wake up in the morning, then you say, what am I grateful for? So you're topping and tailing your day with a really simple process. It's quite technical, but it's really simple, okay? It's ask the right questions, right quality questions. Go for gratitude, basically, and go for improvement, and go for performance, where you want to see. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? What do you want to feel?
You're coming back, I know,
Yes,
and there'll
sure.
be many more chances for people who've missed the last visit to get in touch.
Yeah.
But you have a website, I think?
We have, yeah. Basically, we've the IAMC Cyprus, basically, so IAMC /Cyprus, and you get that. Basically, you can go directly to that, or you can go to nlp.ie, which is on it as well. We're coming back because we're building, basically what we're doing is we're doing a diploma in mind coaching here, so we're teaching people how to do this. So you can use this. This is not just for personal development. This is for professional development as well. So you can go in, basically, you can go into corporations. I work for corporations like Google, like Pepsi, like CRH, big corporations, showing them how to do these things to increase efficiencies. Because, again, people are happy. Basically, they tend to produce more because they're smarter. So there's loads of reasons to do it. But we're going to, literally, we started a process of training. We're going to continue on. This is just the beginning. Elena is the core of this, basically. She's the driving force behind it, basically. And it's her idea, really, to make this happen in Cyprus, because Cyprus is a very central area. It's a good place to be able to use as a satellite for the rest of the world.
Can I ask you, you're obviously mostly happy because you're very positive about everything,
Yeah.
but are there ever, I suppose there must be, everybody's human, times when you have doubts? Or could we say,
Well,
oh, Brian, he's a happy chappy?
In general, I'm happy most of the time. Yeah, that's my sort of demeanour now. Basically, I'm pretty happy most of the time. There are times where I could get my computer, smash it, break it up, rip it apart, basically, and scream forever. So, yes, I have those moments too. But really, to be honest with you, I do deliberately, if something bad's happening, I deliberately, and it's not just, it's built in now because I've done it so long, I deliberately look for how can I redeem that, how can I make it good, how can I make it work. It's not to say that if you're going through a bad time, you engage with that, that's fine, it's okay to do that. So, you know, the simple thing is be in rapport with yourself. So if something is wrong, if something's not right, you tune into that, you vent it, you release it. That's fine. But you take, there's an amount of time to do that, yeah? So if something is basically, you know, if something is dark or unhappy or bad or whatever, it's not about dismissing it. It's about saying, okay, this is what it is. Then the next question is, what can I do about this? Where can I go from here? So NLP is not about positive thinking. It's about practical thinking with a positive focus. So, you know, if there's things like, you know, grief or debt or sadness or hardship or difficulty, you arrive where it is first. Then you connect with it, and then you choose to change it. That's the only difference, but it's a dramatic difference. So, yes, I have my moments. Yes, I have my bad times. But most of the time, basically, I look for, well, you know, I've got it. I got the message. I need to move on. I do that as quick as I can, as human as I can. Remember, I don't always get there. Yeah, but most of the time I do.
That's Brian Colbert, author of The Happiness Habit, who's been in Cyprus and will be back again to give talks on how you can program yourself to be happier and more successful.